Hello, and welcome to another Rant Rave review. Today, I will be raving, and not really ranting, mostly raving, about 5 Miss Marple stories that I didn't talk about yet. And then I will be doing a life update, because if you notice, I haven't updated this channel for a month, and there's a reason, and it's a good reason that there's weird things going to be happening. So anyway, but first, the review, because I'm not a cooking blog, and I don't front-load my whole life story and then give you the thing that you're here for. So, so last time I reviewed, I don't know, most of the Miss Marple canon. This time is 450 from Paddington Station, which is a delight. It's such a good premise. It's basically one of Miss Marple's friends is on the train, and it's going the same direction as another train on a parallel track, and they just happen to be like at such a speed where they're parallel for just a second. And she looks into the next carriage on the other train, and she sees a guy strangling a woman, and she only sees the back of his head. And so she freaks out, and she tells Miss Marple, and she tries to tell the people at the station, and they just think she's nuts and completely ignore it. And so she tells Miss Marple, who, being investigative, is like, I'm really old and I can't do much, but I have contacts. I have people who work for the train. I have, various ways of doing this. So basically, she rides the train herself to figure out, where it would be. There's one curve where she realizes you could throw a body off. And so she hires this, basically a housekeeper / life coach. I don't know, this woman who basically is extremely good at managing households. And she hires herself out to wealthy people and just does all their stuff for them. And she's well acclaimed. And so Miss Marple is like, if you get a job at this house where this curve is, to investigate this for me, I'll pay the difference in your wages, and yeah. And so, again, because Miss Marple mysteries, generally, she doesn't do her own investigating. It's mostly this woman doing the investigating, and it's really, really interesting. I don't know, it's just it's a fun story. It's one of those ones where there's lots of different characters who all have a motive, and I was half right. I half figured out, the whodunit, but not exactly how, and it was quite twisty and turny and very good, very good. Then we have the mirror cracked from side to side, which was interesting. It had a very, very cool twist, and a very, it was sad, but it also was very interesting, and I don't know, I don't think I really figured it out. I figured out, there's a certain clue that seems like a red herring, but you're like, it's probably actually important. But I didn't know why, and then when they finally explain it, you're like, oh man, I kind of get why the murderer did what they did, but still it's messed up, and yeah, it was good. It's quite interesting. A Caribbean mystery it's your stereotypical cozy mystery where the person goes to an exotic locale and solves a murder. So it's Miss Marple on vacation in the Caribbean, and there's this old man who just likes to tell random stories about all the cool stuff he's done, like hunting elephants and going to the colonies and blah, 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 and meeting a murderer. And he starts talking a little too much, and then one day he, dies of a heart attack, but Miss Marple suspects that maybe it was because of that story that he told. And so he's trying to figure out who the murderer is. And that one was, I think, again, it was very obvious who did it, but it was just twisty and turny enough to be interesting. A lot of it was really obvious. The really cool twist was right at the beginning of the book, when she's talking to the old man, he looks over her shoulder and sees something. And you're like, what did he see? And the twist with that was oh, so good. Such a good twist. Yes. It also introduces her name of Nemesis, because she's a little old lady who can't fight her own battles. So she figures out who the murderer is, and she knows that he's going to kill somebody else. So she wraps a little fluffy pink scarf around her head in the middle of the night, and she goes to this rich guy's cabin, and he's an invalid, but he has a young, spry helper who will do anything for money. And so she basically shows up and tells him he has to make his guy go stop the murderer, but she begins all this with her cute, fluffy old lady that's being like, Nemesis! Because Nemesis is the goddess of justice, so pretty great. Which leads us into our next story, Nemesis, which kind of ties in to that one. There actually is a book in between. At Bertram's Hotel is in between those. I didn't read it in between, so it was a direct sequel for me, in which again, this one was, again, like, once it gets going, it's pretty obvious, but it was a cool story. Basically, the old man who's rich hires Miss Marple to do what she does, and, be nemesis. But he doesn't tell her who she's supposed to find, or what the mission or murder is, or who's involved. He doesn't tell her at all. So she basically has to go in blind. Like, he sets up a bus tour for her, and it's all that she knows. It's all that she knows. But it's really interesting. It's basically solving a case that happened years ago, that maybe it was an injustice happened, and, like, Ace Attorneying it up. Yeah, that happens in every Ace Attorney game, usually. Maybe not the second one. Whatever, it's great. And finally, we have Sleeping Murder, which again is a great premise, where this woman who lives in New Zealand, apparently all her life, is getting married, or is married, and she moves to England with her husband, and she's looking for a house, and she sees this house that it just seems great to her. She goes in, and it feels like home, and she buys it, and she keeps getting these, like, impressions that there ought to be a door there, and so they peel back the wallpaper, and there is a door. Or, like, didn't the steps used to go down? Like, wait, what steps? Like, I haven't been here before. Or has she? And then she basically has this, like, memory of a murder happening in the house. And so her and her husband are basically like, we're going to figure out who did it. And Miss Marple, who is staying with them because their friends know each other, is basically like, oh, you probably shouldn't, like, dig up the past. It's going to be, like, dangerous, and you don't need to know. And it's, again, as soon as the murderer shows up, you know exactly who it is. But he is such a good villain. I think he's the most evil Miss Marple murderer, because some of them have good reasons for murder, and some of them have bad, selfish reasons for murder, and his is definitely bad and selfish, but, like, he went beyond the beyond. Like, he didn't just kill one person. In order to cover it up, he did something horrible. So, it's like, whoa, this guy is extra evil. So, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. So yeah, they're all really good. I don't want to spoil any of them. You should go read Miss Marple, and I will definitely be reading more Agatha Christie, probably Poirot, since I haven't read most of those. And now, on to the life update. I got a new job! Yay! So for those of you who don't know, I used to live in a place in northern Arizona, which we affectionately call the ghetto in the meadow. Poverty with a view, because houses there are insanely expensive, like insane. And so in order to basically be able to have a house, I moved to another town. And I literally, since I moved here, have been insanely homesick for my old town. It's also a really tiny town. It's weird. I thought I had come from a small town. I was like, no, I came from a small city. This is a small town. I'm not a fan. So, I got a new job, and I will be moving back, hopefully really soon. Like, I'm not sure yet. Things are happening very fast. But I definitely will be moving back in the coming months. So, and I've been, thinking about this and preparing, which is why I haven't done any uploads. I'm just like, stress, trying to make sure all my stuff at my old job is set to go, because I am the librarian. Like, I'm the head honcho. I do all the stuff. I have a part-timer who will basically be taking over for me, but there's so much stuff I have to, like, get ready for her before I leave. It's, like, insane. So, that, plus, all the stuff, new job, hopefully buying a house, yeah, etc., etc. Finding a place for my kitties to stay while selling and buying houses. Yeah, so, it's a little bit stressful, but it's a good stress. I was telling people on Tumblr that my life is a shambles, but it's a happy shambles, so, yeah, I'm incredibly stressed out and incredibly overwhelmed, but, like, for a really good reason. So, yay. Good. Yay. So, where does that leave us on the channel? Okay, so, I don't know if I'll probably do a little review at the end of this month, like 2 weeks from now, maybe. And then I intend, hopefully I can, like, pre-record a review for each week of October, because I love doing scary reviews. This time I'm going to do the FromSoft games times 3, well, more than 3, but yeah, and maybe some HP Lovecraft stuff. So yeah, I'm hoping to record those, and then from there on, I'm like, I don't know, I have no idea what the future holds. And then for my regular blog, which y'all should read, I don't update it very much, but yeah, I'll spottily update that here and there, reading roundups and the occasional review, etc. The other thing, not that any of you care, but I'm saying it anyway, is I am still trying to write the first draft of a new book series. I had been hoping to finish by the end of the year. That ain't gonna happen. But I want to still write as much as I possibly can. I think I have about 6-ish chapters out of 19 finished. And I would love to get halfway by the end of the year. That would be a beautiful thing. So, I'm stressed. I don't know. There's no guarantees that I'm going to update in a proper manner. But I will try. I'm not abandoning anything. It's just a matter of overwhelming life things. Also, someday maybe I'll get a proper microphone. Hey. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. So, happy reading, happy reviewing, ranting, I don't know. See you next time, whenever that may be. Ta-ta.